Could Joey Daccord or Matty Beniers be on the U.S. men's Olympic roster in 2030? Everyone's healthy, but who sits? And should the Kraken be buyers or sellers at the trade deadline? Coming up on Locked On Kraken.
You are Locked On Kraken, your daily podcast on the Seattle Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hello, I'm Zane Begg alongside Glenn Dreyfus, and we are with Davy Jones Locker Room, where we cover the Seattle Torrent and Seattle Kraken. And welcome to Locked On Kraken, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, now the #1 sports podcast network. And Glenn, the Olympics are over, but that doesn't mean that we have to stop thinking or talking about the Olympics, because just in 4 more years, we could do it all over again, this time in France, which, by the way, I'm planning on maybe hoping to cover. So we had an article that catalyzed this discussion by Greg Wyshynski of ESPN that got the juices flowing, got the brains going, thinking, maybe we could be seeing some Kraken winning a gold medal in 2030.
Well, of course, who knows what the makeup of the Kraken roster will be in 4 years, but we're talking about what we know. And of course, we're talking about all different countries, but Wyshynski essentially was talking about who could be on the Team USA roster in 4 years. And there was a Kraken name on that list, but it wasn't the name I expected. In the category of the next wave, meaning players who are all currently in their 20s who could be considered in 4 years if they all continue their progressions. And one of the names on that list was Matty Beniers. Wyshynski said of Beniers, he's in his 5th season with the Kraken, having won Rookie of the Year in 22-23. It's not too difficult to see him maturing into one of those do everything bottom 6 forwards on Team USA. Now, part of this aim to me depends on roster construction, and that was a big topic of conversation for both Team Canada and Team USA, which was, do you go with the superstars, the most talented players from your country, or do you have a mix? Penalty killing specialists, power play specialists, grinders, people who will annoy the other team. Which is the winning formula? I think Beniers fits in more if you go with, let's make it a true team of people with different strengths.
I think that is absolutely the way to go. And it's a mistake that you're seeing less with roster construction. In previous tournaments with NHL players, it felt more like, let's just get the 18 most talented people we have and then see what happens. The thing that Matty is up against is that he is a center, and boy howdy, is that a competitive position for Team USA. Austin Matthews, Jack Eichel, and Jack Hughes are essentially locks, assuming they're healthy. Based on what we know, I think it's pretty safe to assume that they will be the 3 best American centers in 4 years. That only leaves one other spot, unless you think that Matty could move to the wing, but now you're taking somebody who's not playing the position he normally plays, and is that really the best thing for your roster if you're assembling a Team USA roster? So you've got Logan Cooley, and I didn't even mention Dylan Larkin, right? So I think those are probably the 2 centers that are most likely to be the 4th of the 4. So Matty, I think, has to take a leap. He has to take another step forward. And it doesn't necessarily have to be offensively. He could just turn into a defensive monster, or even more of a defensive monster. And maybe that's strong enough that he can be that kind of role player. But in terms of, will he be one of the 4 most talented centers in 4 years, I think he's probably got a shot, but not a great one. It's just real competitive at center.
I don't hate the idea of slotting him in at wing to start for a couple of reasons. Number one, it gives you an extra center if one of the centers gets kicked out of a face-off to take draws. Also, if there are injuries, you've got a ready-made guy who knows how to play center. So I think if he continues on his trajectory and becomes a consistent 20-something goal scorer, I think he's at least got a shot. But let's talk about the player who wasn't mentioned as one of the next wave. Spencer Knight and Dustin Wolf are the goalies that Wyshynski says could be on the 2030 roster. Knight, a goalie with the Blackhawks, who's 28. Wolf, goalie with the Flames, who is also 28. The name, of course, not on that list is Joey Daccord. He was actually invited to the orientation camp for Team USA in 2026. So we know he's on Team USA's radar, even though he wasn't ultimately one of the top 3. But if he continues on the trajectory he's on, and with the kind of energy that he brings and athleticism, and God knows with the speed of the Olympics these days, your goalies have to be athletic. I think he's got a real good shot, maybe better than Beniers. And, just this season, I would take him over Dustin Wolf, who did not follow up his wonderful rookie season. All of the Calgary Flames have had an off year, but that includes Dustin Wolf. So I think Matty Beniers and Joey Daccord both have a shot, and it's something in the back of their minds to work toward.
Yeah, 4 years from now, Connor Hellebuck will not be on the team. I think he'll be too old. The thing that concerns me about Joey Daccord, I don't know why this is turning into like good cop, bad cop, where you're like, hey, they can make the roster. And I'm like, well, actually, the reason why they won't make the roster, but I guess that's just the role we're taking, is Joey will be 33, and that's pretty old. It's on the older side for an elite goalie. The competition there doesn't seem as strong. I mean, Ottinger seems like he is a lock, and then Swayman, I know that Wyshynski had him kind of on the bubble. I thought he would be a lock, but then, Spencer Knight, who, by the way, incidentally, is the reason why Chris Drieger was exposed by the Florida Panthers in the expansion draft, which the Kraken ended up taking, because the Panthers had signed Sergei Bobrovsky from Columbus to a gigantic deal, and they had drafted Spencer Knight in the first round. So spending draft capital and then salary cap money on these two goalies meant no matter how good Drieger was, he was the odd man out. And so that's how he ended up on the Seattle Kraken. So that's just a little tie here.
And oddly enough, isn't Drieger back with the Panthers organization now? He was at one time, maybe with their minor league affiliate, with the injury he suffered at the World Championships while a member of the Kraken. He's had a tough go of it.
Yeah, I really liked him, and I really thought that he deserved better than what the hockey gods gave him.
And as far as your point about age, well, you're good at math, and you're correct. He'd be 33 in 4 years. And all I would say to that is, if you're talking about the next wave and up and comers, well, the other two goalies, Knight and Wolf, on Wyshynski's list will be 32. Okay, and here's one more curveball to throw at you, Zane. Is it 100% lock that the NHL will have its players at the Olympics in 4 years?
No, not at all. It's we missed out on it because of the CBA and they couldn't get things figured out. Also, I wonder how much teams are willing to do this after injuries to, like, the Kevin Fiala one in particular is just really brutal. And the Kings were trying to make a push. They just traded for Artemi Panarin, and now they lost one of their best players. So who knows? When they first started going in 98, and then I thought it was going to be an automatic that it would be every 4 years, but that hasn't been the case. So appreciate it when it happens. I certainly do. It's the best hockey you'll ever watch. The USA Canada game was I was thinking about this, the single most intense sporting event I've ever watched. Not just in terms of, I mean, they were so fast and they're so big, but no commercials, Glenn.
Yeah.
Like, you just didn't have time. Like, I'm just like, oh, please give me an Applebee's commercial. I just need to, like, breathe for a second. Like, Ric Flair, I apologize. I will take 2 Car Shield commercials. I just
Okay, words that no one has said ever until now. But I hear you.
I was exhausted, and not just because I woke up at 5 a.m. It was just like, whoa, but that was awesome. It was incredible. Well, we have to go back to slightly less incredible hockey than the USA Canada playing for the gold medal for all the world. But we have Stars Kraken coming up, and everyone is healthy except for Matt Murray. But that creates some roster clutter, and we're going to talk about that next. There is nothing like being in an NBA arena with the crowd and the energy and the moment, but getting tickets has not always been so simple, and that's why Gametime has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs, with the fans. I bought tickets to an NBA game coming up, and I pulled up the Gametime app, and I had tickets within minutes. I liked seeing the all-in price up front with no surprise fees at checkout, and I could see the view from my seat, so it made buying easy. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Gametime app today, and remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Join the Everydayer Club for ad-free audio, access to our group chat on Discord, and more. Use code DEADLINE ahead of the trade deadline for 1 month free. Join now at lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer or hit the link in the show notes. So we got a good news and a bad news situation here. Good news is all the skaters are healthy. They're all back. They're all practicing. Ben Meyers is back. Berkeley Catton's back. Everyone's back. The problem is, with everybody back, there aren't enough roster spots to play everybody, which was a problem before the break. Jacob Melanson had been a revelation, and he's hitting everything, and then players got healthy, and he ended up being sent down to Coachella Valley because there just wasn't space for him. Now we're back in the same spot. Ben Meyers, he was injured, so Melanson was inserted back in the lineup, but now Meyers is back, and also Catton's back. What do the Kraken do with their roster? Because here's the other thing that's complicating things. There are only 3 players they can send down to Coachella Valley without putting them through waivers. Ryan Winterton, which makes no sense. Shane Wright, which makes even less sense. And Jacob Melanson. I think Melanson is an easy sit, and I'm going to tell you why I don't think his contributions are as valuable as they seem. Jacob Melanson is known for hits. What do you call him? He's the DJ because he plays all the hits.
That's right.
Right. Setting Kraken franchise records. He is just hitting everything that moves.
10 hits in one game. Then he broke the record with 12 hits.
Here's the thing. When a team out hits the other, I just went back and I looked at all the games since 2009. The team with more hits loses 56% of the time.
Well, the team that's piling up the hits is the team that doesn't have the puck.
Exactly. And that's the problem. So it's really great to see the hits. They feel good. Well, no, they don't feel good. That's the point of the hits. As an observer watching the game, it feels good to see them. But what that means is that the team is in a bad situation over and over again, that being that they don't have the puck. The definition of a hit is when a player hits a player with the puck that causes them to lose control or alter their progress, and so disrupt them in some way. But that then, as you said, by definition, that means that you don't have possession of the puck. Now, a more stark example is blocked shots. I'm not saying hits are bad. I'm not saying blocked shots are bad. But the team that blocks more shots loses 60% of the time because, again, in order to block a shot, it means you don't have the puck and you're not the one shooting. So Melanson is doing this thing that's great and it's fun, but how valuable is it really? Now, you can look at the record with him in the lineup, and his arrival coincided roughly with when the Kraken shed a lot of their previous bad habits and started winning. I also think trading Mason Marchment had something to do with that. But also, it's not that Jacob Melanson is adding 5-6 wins to the team that they wouldn't have otherwise won. If you look at the overall season and you look at wins above replacement, so how much would a player add to a team's win total versus a kind of borderline player, the best players are 3 wins, 2 wins. It's really not that much. So if Melanson is, they're like, well, they would have won 7 more games than they otherwise would have. That suggests that Jacob Melanson is like twice as good as Connor McDavid. So just take a step back. That's my other hot take. That's the real bombshell. Jacob Melanson is not twice as good as Connor McDavid. Please don't cancel me, internet. The reason why these things happen is hockey is a large sample size sport. So the analogy that has been deeply internalized is, as has been mentioned before on the show, I'm a professional poker player. And I've been doing this for almost 20 years now. And one of the things that happens is someone will, on a forum, they'll say, hey, I've been playing poker and the last 6 weeks I've been going every day. I've been playing 40 hours a week and I'm just crushing it. I'm making a ton of money. I'm going to the casino and I'm making a lot of money. Should I quit my job and become a professional? And the answer to that is 6 weeks isn't enough. You just don't know. You need 6 months. You need 1,000 hours of play before you even have an idea if you are a winning player, which blows people's minds because they're like, how is that possible? 6 weeks, 40 hours a week, going day in, day out. And then someone tells you, yeah, that's not even close enough. We don't know. But then what happens is the people who don't believe that and they don't follow the advice, they quit their jobs, and then reality sets in because it turns out that you really needed a much larger sample than you thought you needed. And that's what gets people in trouble with large sample size games. Hockey is the same way. And so Jacob Melanson, he does add energy to the lineup. There is a contribution there. I'm not denying that. But he is not the linchpin for the team's success as has been presented. And I think if your game plan is to hit the other team a lot, then that's a losing game plan because the teams that are in position to hit the other team a lot are the teams that are not doing that well. One last point on that. The team that's number 1 in hits this year, the New York Rangers, who have completely fallen apart. The team that's last in hits this year is the Colorado Avalanche because they hit the puck all the time, right? So hits, maybe not as great as they seem. If you don't have the puck, you would rather have a hit than not. But if you're in that position over and over again, your team is probably not that good.
Okay, just for fun, let me ask you a question. You use the word energy with Melanson, and fourth lines are often called energy lines. They're not out there to score goals. If they do, that's a bonus. But they're out there to disrupt. They're out there to be wrecking balls. And we should say that Melanson has managed to pile up these hits without taking a lot of penalties. So he's playing within the rules. But do you give any value to the energy that he brings to the Kraken? And he fires up the home crowd. He makes the players on the bench lean forward a little more. Maybe he makes the opponents go, I got to get rid of this puck a second sooner than I want to. I don't think there's anything that analytics-driven people hate more than intangibles. So I'm just going to ask you the question. Does Jacob Melanson bring intangibles that have helped the Kraken win?
Oh, I'm sure he does, but what's the trade-off? Because if you play Jacob Melanson, who are you sitting? Are you sitting a better player? That's the question. Who are you sending down to Coachella Valley? Are you sending down Ryan Winterton? Are you exposing somebody to waivers? You're exposing Ty Cartier, and then you run the risk of losing him at no cost, right? There's a trade-off here. It's not just putting Jacob Melanson in the lineup in a vacuum. There's a decision that needs to be made around the other players, and because of the contract and waivers status of the players on the roster, the Kraken have just too many players and not enough roster spots. So
I just wonder how
out?
much value he provides to the other members of the Kraken, how much of an energy boost, whether that, which is something you can't measure, whether that actually helps the team.
But isn't it more not just how does he provide an energy boost, but does he provide more, not just energy, but overall increases the team's chances of winning more than Ty Cartier, or more than Ben Meyers, or more than Ryan Winterton, or more than Shane Wright? I don't think he does.
Okay.
So he's a good player. He adds a lot, but there are other good players. Ty Cartier is a good player, and Ben Meyers is a good player. So that's the problem, is that what do you do? Now, coming up next, we're going to talk about one of the ways you might be able to relieve some of that pressure with the upcoming trade deadline in the next segment. If you ever wanted to experience the NBA Finals live and in person, FanDuel is giving you the chance to turn that dream into reality with their NBA sweepstakes. Here's how it works. Use your profit boost on any NBA future, and you'll automatically be entered for a shot to win an NBA Finals trip for two. That's right, flights, tickets, the whole experience. If you're looking at the board and thinking which team can make a deep run, this is the perfect time to lock it in. Visit FanDuel.com to get started. Use your profit boost on an NBA future and get entered for your chance to win a trip to the NBA Finals. Play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. So we got a trade deadline coming up, and we were relieved of trade deadline rumors because of the Olympic roster freeze, but no longer. And the rumor mill has started up again. I saw a thing the other day about maybe Shane Wright could be traded for Vincent Trocheck, which did not seem to be based in anything. It was just some speculation. But the speculation season, it's started again. But one person we didn't even mention in the last segment is Yanni Newman. He's just well, he's not languishing in the AHL. He's just melting down everyone in the AHL. So whatever the opposite of languishing is. But he's too good to be in the AHL. He is an NHL player, and there is no room. Jacob Melanson, as you said, he does provide value. He provides energy. There is value there, but there's no room. Now, you can make room. There are a handful of expiring contracts on the Kraken. So, Glenn, I know that you had suggested maybe trading somebody whose name has not been mentioned in the trade rumors, but did elevate his profile during these Olympics.
Well, the favorite comment I saw on social media, Zane, was, I have no idea what my general manager is going to do at the NHL trade deadline, but I sure am looking forward to criticizing it afterward. As to what I think the Kraken will do, no one said it better than that 17th century general manager, Willie Shakespeare, paraphrasing here. Neither a seller nor a buyer be. Why not buyers? Because the Kraken aren't Stanley Cup contenders. Why not sellers? Because the Kraken are fighting for a playoff spot. But as you said, there are 4 Kraken vets on expiring contract. Jaden Schwartz, Jordan Eberle, Jamie Alexiak, and the Olympian you alluded to, which is Eeli Tolvanen. Eeli Tolvanen, his play for Team Finland in the Olympics got 2 very different reviews. Matt Larkin of dailyfaceoff.com was not a fan, saying, with his mix of feisty physicality and power play acumen, Tolvanen had sleeper potential as a secret weapon for the Finns, but he only played 10:42 per game, wound up scratched for Finland's semifinal battle versus Canada. The Kraken still hold a playoff spot and thus can't be counted on to turn seller yet anyway, but it still could happen. And Tolvanen didn't get a great showcase in Milan, mustering 1 goal and no assists in 4 games before padding his stats with a couple assists in the bronze medal game after replacing the injured Mikko Rantanen. Stock down. Now, I'm going to push back a little bit on that, Zane, because padding your stats with 2 assists in the bronze medal game, the MVP of this Olympics was Connor McDavid, 13 points in the games he played. But I went and checked. 3 points against Czechia, 3 points against Switzerland, 3 points against France. Nobody was saying that Connor McDavid padded his stats.
Also, it's not like those assists came on Finland's 2 empty net goals.
Yeah.
They came on the goal that made it 2-0 and then that made it 3-1. So if you count assists on critical goals in the most important game of your life as padding your stats, what a ridiculous thing. I dismiss it, discount it, send it away.
I said good day.
Bring me another take and make this one better.
Well, the former chair of the Pro Hockey Writers Association Seattle chapter, which now, by the way, the co-chair is my buddy Zane Begg, but Ryan Clark of ESPN, who held that title, he liked Tolvanen's game better. He said initially Tolvanen was on the verge of a disappointing Olympics, only 1 point in 4 games, but he bounced back in the bronze medal game with 2 points to help Finland win the bronze. He has been a different player since the Kraken claimed him off waivers during the 22-23 season. Tolvanen has had more than 16 goals and 30 points in every season he's been with the Kraken. He has already reached the 30-point mark and is on pace for another 16-goal campaign for a team fighting for a playoff spot. Now, Tolvanen is on an expiring contract the talks are about to get underway between his camp and Jason Botterill, the GM of the Kraken, but it's not a certainty that they will be able to reach agreement. And if they don't, then it's better to get something for Eeli Tolvanen than to just have him go at the end of the season. The point here is right now he's making $3.475 million, and he's going to want more than that.
His advanced numbers, by the way, his expected goal share numbers are really bad. They're among the worst in the NHL, and I don't know how much teams look at that. I haven't really dug deep into why that is the case, but if you just pull up on Natural Stat Trick, and you can see the expected goal share, he is like among the very, very worst. He, Chandler Stevenson, and Freddie Gaudreau are all in like the bottom 20 in the
All right,
NHL.
I have to ask you this, same. He is the other leader in the Kraken for hits. So does this mean there's a correlation?
Maybe, right? Because if he's on the ice and then he's hitting a lot, it means he's on the ice, and then the Kraken don't have possession of the puck a lot. So, yeah, there's probably a relationship there. It's a little bit of a red flag. One thing that complicates things with this playoff push is, as you said, the Kraken aren't Stanley Cup contenders, but they are trying for a playoff spot. So what do you do if you are a veteran player who wants a chance at a Stanley Cup, who's on an expiring contract, and they signal to the organization, I would like to go someplace where I have a chance to win a cup, or in the case of Jaden Schwartz, win another cup?
Yeah, my spidey sense tells me that Jaden Schwartz, who is on the last year of a contract that this year is paying him $5.5 million, either at the trade deadline or in free agency, he won't be back because the Kraken just aren't close enough to being legitimate cup contenders. Now, this decision would be a whole lot easier if the Kraken, as most of the pundits predicted before the season, were already out of playoff position, but they're not. And so I can't see them waving the white flag in a sense, because Jaden Schwartz, as you say, a past cup winner, has that pedigree. He could be one of the players that makes a difference. You know, in a sense, look at him like a rental that you already have on your roster. Now, Jordan Eberle, the captain, he's older than Schwartz, who is 33. Eberle is 35, but as the captain, and he's earning $4.75 million this season, I would make a push to re-sign him. I would not consider trading him because he has come back from his gruesome injury playing gangbusters this season, and he is the captain. Schwartz, at the beginning of the year, I would have said definitely move him at the trade deadline. Now, maybe it makes sense long-term to do that because he'd be coveted, but I don't think the Kraken will, because that could be the difference between making the playoffs and sitting at home.
I think the tension here is doing right by the player versus doing right by the franchise. And in a more cutthroat organization, that would not be a consideration. They would say whatever's best for the team is the only thing we care about. The Kraken have not historically been that way. It seems that they will do the player a favor. They'll try to do right by them. They're not going to be reckless and make awful decisions. But when Mark Giordano's like, I would like to go to Toronto, then they find a way to get him to Toronto.
The first captain of the Kraken in their initial season.
So if Jaden Schwartz says, hey, you know what? I'm giving you a heads up. This summer, I'm not going to re-sign here. And I would really prefer to go someplace where I could win a cup this year. But if I don't get traded at the deadline, cool. But I'm not going to be back next season. Then the Kraken now have a decision to make. What do you do with someone like that who could be very valuable to a cup contender? And again, then if you trade away players, you create room
Yes.
for Yanni Newman. So you lose Jaden Schwartz on the power play, for example. But if Yanni Newman is now on the power play, well, maybe not losing that much. You're losing in other areas because Jaden Schwartz is a better player than Yanni Newman.
Yeah.
But they're all trade-offs, right?
The player that I could most see getting moved, if they move anybody, is Jamie Alexiak. Now, he's not a forward, so he doesn't really open up the spot you're talking about, but two of his old teams are in playoff position, the Penguins and the Stars, and both are in need of defensemen and the kind of big body stay-at-home D that Alexiak plays. And you do have a Josh Maher to plug in where Alexiak is. Again, he's earning a significant salary, $4.6 million this year. So again, the value that Alexiak brings versus stockpiling more assets or a young prospect. If I was going to pick one veteran who could be moved, it would be Alexiak.
Well, we'll have plenty more to talk about. I'm sure we'll have plenty more rumors. We could go on and on for hours about rumors, but we'll have to wait until tomorrow where we will be back to talk more Kraken hockey. So thank you for tuning in to Locked On Kraken. Make sure you subscribe and follow Locked On Kraken so you get all the latest episodes. And you can find us on all your social media platforms at Davy Jones LR or at DavyJonesLockerRoom.com, where we do print coverage of the Seattle Torrent and the Seattle Kraken. If you never miss an episode, the Everydayer Club is built for you. Get Locked On Kraken ad-free plus members-only Discord access and more. For those of you on video, we send you over to the first ever 24/7 National Locked On Podcast Network YouTube channel. On audio, make sure this is one of your 2 daily listens. For Davy Jones Locker Room, I'm Zane Begg.
And I'm Glenn Dreyfus.
And we'll see you tomorrow.